Hey Saber fans, Tony here from Ronin Sabers, and today I've got a different type of video for you. I've been asked a lot of questions in my YouTube comments, and they're all very similar, and so I decided to make an FAQ, or frequently asked questions, and here I'm going to answer all your questions about Neopixel Profi installs by me, and so without further ado, let's get to it. So I do build lightsabers. I've been doing it for a year now, and I've been growing and learning and doing a lot, but it's getting to the point where I can't answer all your guys' questions consistently, so I'm going to do it in this video and answer it all together. So the first question is, what is Neopixel? So Neopixel is tons of LEDs that are inside the blade, and they're coded by two types of boards. The boards that I install, CFX and Profi. Now, if you want to see the differences in those, I have a video up for that, so go check that out. But you're able to control these pixels, and one of those features is an unstable blade. Because you have all these pixels flashing at different moments, they look way more realistic, as well it has a really good scroll effect. And so, yeah, now the difference between CFX and Profi is mainly features and such, as well as the difficulty of installing it. Now, there's a bit of a hill when it comes to Profi because you have to code it yourself, versus CFX, you just use the SD card. Now, the features with Profi, because one of the questions is, can I just have a unstable blade? And the answer is, well, yes, but why would you want to do that when you have several fonts? And so each font has the same features in the sense, so it has color changing. And you can change it to whatever color you want. Let's do a green. And then as well as, blasters and lockup, as well as lightning block and melt and tons of other features. But the cool thing is if you change fonts, you still have all these fonts. You still have all these features. So this is just a normal royal blue or navy blue. And you still have all those features. You have force effects as well. And so again, you have all these features that are with every single font. You still have melt, lightning block, color changing. You still have all of these really cool styles. And so we're going to do red because Vader. That's more of a purple. But yeah, you can change it to any color. And so, yeah, it's very cool to have these features and such. So the next question was, where do I get my fonts? Now, I guess a better question would be, what is a font, for those that don't know? Now, a font is character-specific sound for your saber, and you have basically different levels of fonts. Now, Profi and stuff can have multiple fonts in one Profi board, and that's based on your SD card space, and if you want more features than not. Now, to customize a font with these fonts, you can customize them. What I mean by that is you can change the font sound, the boot sound, the force effects, so when you are in battle and your lightsabers are ignited, you can have a feature or a quote from the movie in the middle of battle, and you can customize those as well. Now, most of these soundboards, CFX and Profi, both play tracks in the background while your saber is ignited or off, and so I can customize that track as well. So say if you wanted the Battle of the Heroes or whatever, if it doesn't come with the font already, which most of the time they do come with tracks and stuff that you can add on, I will custom make one. I will pull the track, clip it, make it so it sounds really good on the saber, and then you're good. So say if you wanted a Clone Wars one, because that's not as popular from font makers, then you go and do that. Now, I mainly get my fonts from Kyberphonic and KSIF. Those are the most popular in the whole saber community right now, but there are people from like fonts from Fours. There's Repulse, also fonts by Fours on that same website. There is tons of other people on saberfont.com, and those are definitely worth checking out. Now, if you want a very unique, stylized font, I'm pretty sure that you can find a saber. They're called font makers, and font makers can gladly make a custom font for you. I don't custom make fonts. I custom make boot sounds and tracks. That's the main thing. And force effects. That's the kind of it. And so, now with blade styles, you can customize all types of stuff. Now with Profi alone, you can customize all types of stuff with the ignition, and with the ignition you can do the timing, you can do a color, you can do a style, because there's tons of different styles when it comes to ignition. Now retraction, you can also time that, and usually I time them with the sound font themselves, the ignition and retraction. You can make it slower or more immersive. If you have like a swing on and you want it to be fast, that's also a feature. So with all these gesture features and stuff, you can turn on your saber without turning a button on or tapping a button, and you can turn it off without. And now with the new update, which I have a video on it if you want to check out all those videos, they're all available to you with these installs and the commissions. Now, with the blasters as well, if you want it to be as accurate as possible, universally what I do with my fonts is I usually make all of the blasters and effects all universal white, because that seems to be the color that every single font has. Now there is ways if you want a red with a light blue because the white doesn't show up, or if you want a yellow blaster with a green lightsaber because that looks more canon. You guys have those options available to you that I can customize and code, and they're very, very easy to code. Now Arduino is the tricky part because uploading it to the board is the hard part, and it took me a while to learn that, but I won't get into that. So the next question is, why buy a saber for me? What is special about my commissions versus, say, Corband or Vader's Vault or any other saber that does Neopixel installs? And first off, I think I'd like to define what commission is, because a lot of people kind of get that confused. And so commission is like a made-to-order lightsaber. If you have an empty hilt, or if I have to supply the hilt, you're getting a Neopixel lightsaber one way or another from me, either with a blade or without, with fonts, without. Now, the biggest difference between me and everybody else is that these fonts are going to be custom to you. As I said before, with the customization, you can choose to make this lightsaber whatever you want. Have a party blade, have a very specific font to you, go canon, non-canon, and that's kind of up to you. You will never have a saber made by me twice, basically, from a customer, unless they specifically ask for that. But the idea is that your saber is idealized for you. There's no other saber on the market just like your saber. And that's the thing that kind of differs between me and Corband, because for me, say I had an Obi-Wan lightsaber. I have Obi-Wan through the years, and then the rest of that is all commissioned fonts or whatever. You know, I tell the story, and then with Corband, they put one font that's specific to the character, or maybe 3, but then they put tons of very randomized. And here is where, you know, you guys can choose the 10 fonts by Kyberphonic, and I'll talk about that later as well with pricing. But you choose to buy 10 fonts from Kyberphonic with my install. You can choose whatever 10 fonts you want, so you don't have to be like, well, I got a Kylo Ren and I didn't know what to do, you know, or I had an Obi-Wan that didn't make sense on a Count Dooku lightsaber. You know, you don't get those weird fonts on a lightsaber that you would want another font on. And so, and of course, these tracks can be customized, the boots, the blade styles, all that stuff is something that you guys will communicate to me. With Corband or any of that stuff, I don't think they even offer gesture features as of right now, or even battle mode. So that's something that you guys as a customer have to choose. Now, as pricing wise, it's very similar. Like, to be competitive saber builder, which I've been doing for a year now, you kind of have to match Corband's prices. And so mine are a bit, I think, not even too much, but a bit more expensive than Corband, mainly because I offer that personalization, which again is very unique. So now the sabers that I install are kind of very picky in a sense compared to other installers. Now, I do install Corband, Saberforge, Alter Sabers, all that type of stuff that I can actually take apart. The stuff that I run into that people ask about is Black Series, Master Replicas, Hasbro stuff, Galaxy's Edge, and those I don't like as much. Because they've already been built to work and function the right way, it's harder to maneuver and re-engineer in that sense, and I haven't been brave enough to do it yet. Maybe in the future, but for now, it's a fat no from me. And so I mainly do empty hilts, or hilts that have been installed by Corband or another custom saber installer. And so that's kind of it. Sadly, I'm not doing that for that. I have seen other sabers like Black Lion Sabers. He's doing FX hilts for Black Series and all that type of stuff. So if you are interested, definitely go give him a look. But with Corband and stuff, with 2 buttons or 1 button, it doesn't really matter because the features carry over with Profi to both stuff. I know some people were curious about, does it matter what button I have? Even with 0 buttons or 3 buttons, you still have a very functioning prop because Profi is now working on that stuff, as well as all the gesture features are included. So you don't lose features if you have to choose 1 button or multiple buttons, and that's up to the customer ultimately. So I get asked about who buys the saber exactly. When commissioned by me, do I supply the hilt? Do they supply the hilt? Do they have to supply the hilt? And there's a lot of options there. So if you're interested in buying a hilt, or if you have a hilt that wants to be installed, perfect. If you have a hilt, perfect. Send it. I will install it and all that jazz. Now, if you don't have a hilt, that just adds on to the fee of the install itself, and you guys will have to pay for that, and then of course it'll ship to me, I'll install it, and then ship it to you. No big deal. Now, the other question that kind of feeds into that one is who builds the blades? Do you build the blades? You know, if I have a blade, can you convert it to Neopixel? And the easiest answer is I build the Neopixel lightsabers, and it's easiest for me just to start a fresh new blade than try to adapt your Tri-LED blade to a Neopixel blade. Now, my custom blades are about 34 inches. They all come about 34 inches. Now, if you guys want a longer or shorter blade, that can be negotiated, but it'll be about the same price. So the next question I get is, do I fix sabers? And I actually have. I fixed a Dooku Corband, and the mainly ones I fix are the same ones I will install. So the Corband ones, the ones that are installed by maybe some other sabersmith or saber installer, but I will not do the Black Series or the Hasbro or Galaxy's Edge oriented Disney toys. And so again, they're harder to fix if they are broken, and let alone install. So I just kind of avoid that section. But I do installed ones by Sabersmiths and Corbanth Vader's Vault. The list goes on, but you get the idea. Now, the next question is, where do I ship, or can I ship just worldwide or US or, that stuff? And I do ship all over. So I've had customers in Mexico, I've had some customers message me from Australia, and the biggest thing is if you're out of the country, the US, then you kind of have to consider shipping, cost, and time. The other question that was asked frequently is, how long does it take for a saber to ship? The way that life is now, it takes a bit longer than it does usually, but around estimate, if you're in the US, is about 3 days. 3 to 5 days, about a week maybe. And so you're out of country, it'll take maybe more than that, maybe a week or two, based on if depending on where you are in the world. And so you guys do have to pay shipping costs, and so that is usually negotiated within the price of commission. But other than that, it's not terribly bad. But Tony, how do we pay with these commissions, for these commissions? And the answer is, I do my payments through PayPal, and if there's some reason why you can't do PayPal, I will have other options like Venmo, but for the most part, it's just PayPal. I do have some sabers available on Etsy, and sometimes those are paid through Etsy itself, and so you can pay with your card or whatever, but mainly PayPal. Now, the question next would be, well, what are your prices exactly? I've talked throughout the entire video, and now it's time to get through the grit work, the prices for everything. Alright, so now we're going to get into pricing for commissions. Now, all these commissions are going to be without the hilt, so it's going to be as though the customer is supplying the hilt, and if you do not have a hilt, then you can buy one through me, and that'll just add on to whatever the hilt cost is to the overall price. So let's get into it. So your basic install is going to be $480, and that's going to be your basic install, no blade, default fonts. These are going to be the builds for people that already have a blade or want to do their own fonts and upload their own fonts through Arduino. And so it's a very good, pretty cheap way to install whatever hilt you have. Now the next upgrade you can add is the $150 for the blade, which is going to be about 34 inches in length. I already talked about that previously, but you can upgrade that even more if you wanted KR Saber pixels. And I just started building those. It adds on $20, so your overall blade, if you got a KR Sabers, would be $170. Now I do a deal with Kyberphonic. If you want to choose 10 fonts of your own choosing, then it's about $50 to get whatever fonts I talked about previously, but yeah, $50 added on. So if you wanted the full thing, so basically the install without the blade is for if you have tons of blades already and you have a good collection, and it's just the install without the blade. Now the one with the full shebang, the blade and the fonts, it's going to be a starting collector or somebody who doesn't have the blades he needs, and so it needs the full thing. Now if you wanted to go crazy, you can do the crossguard. Now the crossguard is going to add about $50 to the overall price. So either with the blade, say if you did the full blade for the full install for $650, it'll add on $50 to whatever the crossguard is. Now if you want to go absolutely crazy, there's crystal reveals. Now crystal reveals are going to be very expensive because the chassis parts can be more, it's going to be not necessarily dueling, but a lot more coding that I have to do as well, and so that's going to be $350 more to whatever price that you choose, either with the blade or without. And chargers, if you're worried about chargers on top of the price that you're already spending for a Neopixel lightsaber, they're not terribly expensive. They're only $10 if you get them from the custom saber shop, and so it's a very, very small thing. And so that'll kind of conclude all the prices. I hope this was very informational for you guys. I know that I've wanted to answer these questions for a while, and this helps me out. So if you get this message or watch it all the way through, I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy, and I hope you purchase from Ronin Sabers. Hope you have a wonderful day, and may the Force be with you.